This is the what if game concerning the Oscars. We'll probably be doing this like for the next 3 shows.
All right.
So we're just going to do the best picture each year, and you guys tell me what you think doesn't belong there and what you'd put in its place and if it went to the right person. And we're going to start this show. We'll do the decade of the 1970s, and then we'll do 1980s next week.
That's good. Okay.
Sound good? Okay, here you go.
Yeah.
Put on your thinking caps, guys. So 1970, here are the Best Picture nominees: Patton, Airport, Five Easy Pieces, Love Story, and MASH. And, of course, Patton is the one that won. First of all, was Patton the one that should have won out of those 5?
No. Should have been MASH.
I agree with Dean. It should have been MASH.
I would actually put Patton in 3rd place behind MASH and Five Easy Pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's it.
What doesn't belong
Absolutely.
there? Airport or Love
Story? Love Story. Airport is actually kind of when you go back and watch Airport now, it feels like it's from another. I mean, it obviously is from another era, but it feels like it's actually from another world or whatever. And even though it's quite dull some of the time, it is the progenitor of a whole genre of movies.
Oh God, there's that word again.
Yeah, sorry. I got to find another word, but it's the start of a whole genre of movies. And
I would. Love Story is the one I would also have to cut out of that one.
What would you replace it with?
You know what? I've done this already. I did movie. I participated in a 85-week project on the website Wonders in the Dark, where we went through each year and picked the best movies of each year. And so I'd have to kind of have that in front of me to really say. And I think next week I'll be able to do the 80s better. But so what
about something like either The Landlord or Little Big Man?
A Little Big Man, no.
Little Big Man, I would have on there.
70 wasn't a great year. I mean, it was kind of a iffy kind of year.
I was born that year. What the hell are you talking about? It was an awesome year. I was born that year.
Well, I'm just talking. I mean, there's some good movies. I could definitely, if I had my computer in front of me, I could definitely come up with something.
Was there a Godzilla movie that was released that year?
I'm
being very serious.
1971, Best Picture: French Connection, A Clockwork Orange, Fiddler on the Roof, The Last Picture Show, Nicholas and Alexandra. The French Connection
Fiddler on the Roof
won.
deserves a go.
The French Connection won.
As a Jew, I'd have
French
to say
Connection
it has to go.
French Connection is the winner, just to go with the thing, of course. Okay, so you say Fiddler on the Roof. I say Nicholas and Alexandra.
I give Fiddler on the Roof the boot. Which one would you give?
Nicholas and Alexandra. Fiddler on the Roof is one of the most amazing.
You don't have to worry about the ramifications of this movie.
You know what the difference? But the difference. Okay. Wisdom on the Roof. It does something that almost no musicals can do, which is every song is great. All of the dancing is great. All of the cinematography by Oswald Morris is insane. That won the Oscar that year, as did John Williams' adaptation score. So one of the first Oscars that John Williams won. And Norman Jewison's direction, and T'Pol as Tevye.
I need Larry David to help me out with this one.
Larry David
I would say that both A Clockwork Orange and probably Last Picture Show deserve Best Picture more than French Connection, in my personal taste. But I think the fact that McCabe and Mrs. Miller wasn't nominated is a crime.
That's the crime. That's the one. That's the one that should have gone in there.
That's what we're thinking of. I mean, because that movie is just so hypnotic and poetic.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the one that should have gotten in there, and it should have been nominated for a lot more stuff than it was. I mean, it eventually only got a nomination for Julie Christie for Best Actress, but it should have been in there for so many other things. Obviously, cinematography.
I mean,
obviously that. Yeah, obviously that, but also also the art direction, even the costume design, and by the way, Last Picture Show should have won. That's the movie of that year.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. I mean,
as much as I love Clockwork,
1972, okay. The Godfather, Cabaret, Deliverance. I mean, right there. I mean, my God, what a year, right there.
I know, insanity.
The Immigrants and Sounder, and of course, The Godfather won. You know, Cabaret and Deliverance. I mean, especially Deliverance out of those two, what they mean to the culture is great, but it's not nearly as seismic as The Godfather. I think it went where
The Godfather is huge. The Godfather is enormous.
I mean, it's pretty obvious. The Godfather deserved to win, and it's all as great as all those movies are. It deserved to win. What should have been out? It's been years since I've seen The Immigrants. So I would, and it's also been years since I've seen The Sounder. So I would probably have to go with The Immigrants. And what was interesting about The Immigrants, too, is that it's one of those, it's so weird because it's one of those weird anomalies that happened where the year before, The Immigrants had been nominated for Best Foreign Film, like the year before. So then the year after, it was nominated for Best Picture. So that's kind of weird. So I'd have to say The Immigrants needs to be out of it because, it was the year before. So, and what would I put in? What would I put in its place? I mean, again, I don't have the list in front of me, but there were certainly thousands, 100 movies that could have been in there.
Fat City.
That City has got a big following. Is
that John Huston? Who is that?
Yeah, John Huston, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Best Picture, 1973. The Sting, which won. American Graffiti, Cries and Whispers, The Exorcist, and A Touch of Class.
Oh, my God. Well, American Graffiti should have won Best Picture that year, and because that changed cinema. I think that's kind of the movie. That's American Graffiti was when the studios got the script for American Graffiti, they said nobody's going to understand this. It's got numerous stories going on. And you keep hopping back and forth to these different stories. We credit that kind of thing to Robert Altman, but it's really American Graffiti that popularized that kind of structure because they really didn't think it was going to work and they didn't understand it. And the fact that it did work and the fact that movie actually, it does transport you back to that time perfectly. It is beautifully photographed. The sound design is amazing. The soundtrack itself is was seismic and letting people know, hey, you can score a whole movie with nothing but songs that everybody knows. You can do that, right? And then also just the cast, the huge cast that went on to. So obviously, I think Graffiti should have been done. What should have gotten in there as Best Picture for me is Oh Lucky Man.
Oh my God, yes.
Well, for me, my favorite movie among the 5 that were nominated was Cries and Whispers. But what should have been, I think about a personal favorite, Last Tango in Paris wasn't nominated for Best Picture, and The Last Detail, which is another great movie from that year.
That's another awesome
or
movie.
Paper Moon, which wasn't nominated for Best Picture that year. So, I mean, there's a lot of candidates that year. It was a good year.
Yeah. I wouldn't be against Paper Moon getting in there as well.
Okay, 47th Annual Academy Awards, that's 1974 films. Best Picture went to The Godfather Part 2. The other nominees, Jesus, I mean, just listen to this. Chinatown, The Conversation, Lenny, and The Towering Inferno. What?
One of these things is not like the other.
I have no problem with any of those, though. That's the problem. I don't even have a problem with The Towering Inferno.
For me, Towering Inferno is definitely the one that needs to be out.
How can you say that? O.J. Simpson rescues Fred Astaire's cat at the end of that movie.
It's actually Jennifer Jones's cat, and he gives it he gives it.
It doesn't matter. He gives it a cat. It's just an awesome scene. It's one of the greatest scenes before the
I agree.
verdict.
And it is amazing technical achievement, Towering Inferno. I think that's one of the reasons it got in there, because of course it's incredibly dangerous and hard to photograph fire. It did win Best Cinematography that year, and sound and song as well. But
which is crazy when you have something like Chinatown.
I know. How do you what should
Godfather 2. Or Gordon Willis working Godfather 2. My God.
I know, that got ignored. So obviously Godfather 2 should have won. And for me, I don't know. I'm just going to throw, I don't have the list in front of me, but I'm just going to throw out something that just popped into my head, and I would have thrown a bone to comedy and given it a Best Picture winner nomination to Blazing Saddles.
I give that,
what's crazy about that year was not only was that year the year for Blazing Saddles, but it was also the year for Young Frankenstein. So I could go for either one of the Mel Brooks movies.
A quick story about you. So my mom and dad went to go see Young Frankenstein at a theater that doesn't exist anymore in D.C. And my mom remembers, she always tells me the story. They sat next to a kid, a college kid, who had already seen it like 10 times.
Yeah.
I was like, did you realize that was your future son? Me? Did you realize that was me?
That's funny.
I would, instead of Towering Inferno, I give it to A Woman Under the Influence. But
oh my God.
The thing about Lenny, because I rewatched Lenny a couple of weeks ago, when you compare it to something, which is unfair, when you compare it to something like the movies that came before and after it, Lenny, when you compare it to Cabaret and all that jazz, it's a minor film compared to that. I think it's good. I think it's good. I don't think it's prime Fosse. I really don't. But I
agree with that. I'll give you that.
I don't think I would have put it in the top 5 either. I think I definitely could have figured out something else.
Valerie Perrine, she was great in that movie.
Fantastic. She was nominated for Best Actress, but I don't even think that's a Best Actress performance. I think it's a supporting actress performance. I think it's a supporting performance. So but she's fantastic.
For a long time, she's got more screen time than Hoffman in that movie until she goes into rehab. Okay. 1975. Best Picture went to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, the one movie that probably changed my life more than any other. The other nominations were Barry Lyndon, Dog Day Afternoon, Jaws, and Nashville. My God. Let me just tell you.
I can't disagree with any of those.
All right, this is the first year where nothing should have been out. All of those are the right choices. I wouldn't throw one out.
I couldn't throw any of those out.
And for Best Picture, honestly, this is tough. This is fucking tough. I guess it does have to go to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, although I think on Wonders in the Dark, I think I ended up tearing my hair out and maybe going with Nashville because I couldn't figure it out. But I don't have any problem with it. Any of those.
Dog Day Afternoon is one of the most extraordinary movies I've ever seen. Barry Lyndon is one of the most beautiful movies ever made.
Yeah.
It's impossible. It's impossible. But I don't have a problem.
Impossible.
I would have to split. I would split my wrist before having to. That's 5 awesome movies.
The 1976 Oscars.
Oh my God! You're killing me. You're killing me, Jamie.
Which a lot of times when people talk about perfect Best Picture years, they refer to 1976, and it's telling that the winner of Best Picture that year, Rocky, which is a great movie, is actually the
least,
which is actually the least among these five.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's
yeah, it is. I mean, that's it's often considered that, but I just posted watching Rocky again, and you know, you watch it again, and you have this vision of Rocky being like the Rockies of later years, like of the '80s and so forth.
No, I just said it's
but
a great movie.
Yeah, I not you, but like, you know, the popular people in general have this vision of Rocky. Like, I don't want to watch Rocky again. It's bad, but it's not. It's really beautifully gritty, and really it's not
awesome.
It's not a boxing movie like the rest of them are. It's like it's something.
Well, the
it's
thing that makes Rocky so great, the first Rocky, is the kind of the authenticity of heart in it. And
mm-hmm.
I think it's the relationship between he and Talia Shire that is the most essential element of that movie, and why it works and why it has heart.
Yeah.
And that's exactly why I didn't find that same amount of heart in the last Rocky, because I thought it was a really bad idea to kill her off, because she
it was a
so
horrible
much.
idea. I mean,
that's true. Although, yes, it's true. They shouldn't have gotten rid of that character. But I did like Rocky Balboa. I thought that it was good.
But no, I agree with Jamie.
And then when
why would you get rid of that?
And then they put her as a discombobulated head, like when he's remembering her, and I just thought it was so terrible. Anyway,
yeah,
the other nominations for Best Picture that year: All the President's Men, Bound for Glory, Network, and Taxi Driver. Now, personally, I would have given it to Taxi Driver or All the President's Men before I gave it to Rocky. But that's an impossible thing to choose from for me between Taxi Driver and All the President's Men. I can't. They're both perfect for me.
I would even think Network. Network was so foreshadowing.
Yeah, I think I would have given it to Network, honestly, because it was, you know, it was. I mean, you know, again, this is an impossible choice, but and I don't know how the voters did it really, but I think, you know, also with Rocky winning, I think that there's quite a possibility that there was just a ridiculous kind of split there was a ridiculous split of votes or whatever. So, but what should have won? You know, it had to be, for me. It has to be Network. And what should be out?
Nothing.
I don't think. Yeah, I wouldn't throw anything out of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1976 films. Here are the nominees: Annie Hall, The Goodbye Girl, Julia, Star Wars, The Turning Point. Annie Hall is obviously the one that won.
Yes.
You know, that's. I have no problem with Star Wars being on there. Probably no problem with Goodbye Girl or Annie Hall.
But Julia,
I have no problem with any of them, even Julia, because Julia we still talk about, and Star Wars had to be on there just for a pop cultural phenomenon. And you know, although I would put The Empire Strikes Back, and in hindsight, I would put The Empire Strikes Back as the best picture candidate, as being the just perfect of the 6 films, that being the one that works the best.
Well,
you have to have Star Wars on that year.
Something like you had Close Encounters of the Third Kind, or Looking for
that should have been in there. Mm-hmm. But no, definitely Close Encounters should have been in Best Picture. I mean, the movie was nominated for 8 Oscars, but not nominated for Best Picture, which puts it in that pantheon of that kind of record. You know, there's very few movies that have been nominated for that many Oscars without being nominated for Best Picture. But so obviously, Close Encounters. I mean, it was even nominated for Best Director and Best Screenplay. So and even got an acting nomination for Melinda Dillon. So I just don't see why Close Encounters is not in there over something that's absolutely terrible, something that is also a record holder, the Best Picture nominee that lost the most, or one of the Best Picture nominees that lost the most, nominated for 11 Oscars but won 0, which is The Turning Point, which you go and look at that now, and it's so soapy and horrible, and the only thing that's good in it is Mikhail Baryshnikov's dancing, and he's the only bright spot in a really, really dull movie. So obviously Turning Point should be out.
1978 films. Best Picture went to The Deer Hunter. The other nominations were Coming Home, Heaven Can Wait, Midnight Express, and An Unmarried Woman.
Deer Hunter, Coming Home, Midnight Express, and what was the others?
Heaven Can Wait and Unmarried Woman.
Heaven Can Wait out. I mean, as much as I enjoyed it as an entertainment, and it is very, very well done, it's not a movie that people return to very much again. It eventually only won one Oscar for its set design, and yeah, I mean, I don't think there's something. It's very, very entertaining, but it's really.
Well, I think that was just because it was Warren Beatty, and they were
I agree.
Warren Beatty.
Warren Beatty and Buck Henry, by the way, and Buck Henry directed it.
Interiors, should that have been there instead of Heaven Can Wait?
Absolutely.
I could see that there. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. That would be my choice.
Who should have won?
Deer Hunter.
So Deer Hunter deserved to win over Coming Home.
Yes, for me. For me first.
Let me ask you, can we get to 79 and then I'll get back to this question?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, 1979, that's the final year we'll do on this particular program. Best Picture, the winner was Kramer versus Kramer.
Mm-hmm.
The other nominations were All That Jazz, Apocalypse Now, Breaking Away, and Norma Rae. Look, I think all five of these are great movies. I don't think Kramer vs. Kramer is the greatest among them.
No.
For me personally, it would be hard to choose between Apocalypse Now and All That Jazz, but I would choose Apocalypse Now only because of the Herculean task of putting that together and how amazing an experience it turned out to be, and that still lives today. I mean,
it works well today, and I think it is head and shoulders. And a lot of people disagree with me. I think it, in hindsight, it puts The Deer Hunter and Coming Home to shame. It puts Platoon, Born on the 4th of July, and Full Metal Jacket to shame. Apocalypse Now is the definitive Vietnam movie.
Yeah,
not Vietnam, but post everything. Francis Ford Coppola and Milius and Lucas, all of them, when they created the character of Kurtz and Willard, they updated Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness. They really did. I mean, it's a movie that is so uncomfortable for people to watch. John Kerry doesn't get the movie. He has admitted that he doesn't get the movie, and I understand in the last couple of weeks why he doesn't get the movie is because it hits too close to home. We created, with Apocalypse Now, what Coppola did, a generation of Kurtzes.
It's not necessarily, its aims are different from the other Vietnam movies. So to say that it makes all the other ones pale in comparison isn't really fair because they're not trying the same thing. So
no, they're not trying the same thing, but it works better, I think. I look, dude, I think Deer Hunter and Coming Home are awesome movies. I think Full Metal Jacket, for all its things, is an awesome movie.
But Apocalypse Now makes it mythic. And that's what the other war movies don't do.
Yeah. I mean, when you talk about Vietnam movies and everything, Apocalypse Now is really a true Vietnam movie in that it takes place in Vietnam all the way through, and it shows all aspects of it. All aspects of it. The battlefield and the rivers and the jungles and the people and the military, everything. So it is the quintessential Vietnam film. When you talk about Deer Hunter as being a Vietnam film, it is a Vietnam film, but it really only has one or two sequences in Vietnam. It's really a movie about the home experience. It's really kind of like Vietnam. Vietnam, like Best Years of Our Lives,
And that goes for Coming Home too, I think, to an extent.
Exactly. So, but back to 79. So that's a great lineup. I don't know that I would. First of all, my winner would be All That Jazz, because I think that it's the quintessential Fosse movie. As great as the other movies are, this is the quintessential Fosse movie. I think it's also the quintessential Broadway movie. I think it's a great movie about movie making. I think it's the American 8.5.
It's the quintessential movie about a self-destructive artist. You can't find a better portrait out there of that.
Right. It's also a great autobiographical movie. Like those don't always work. It's absolutely stunning to look at from beginning to end. The photography, the art direction, the Tony Walton art direction, the costume design, the Ralph Burns score, the songs, the amazing songs. Not one song was nominated for Best Song, by the way. Take Off With Us, not nominated. Not nominated. I mean, luckily they did give Best Song that year to the Best Song, which was It Goes Like It Goes from Norma Rae, which will give you chills. But if I were going to throw one out of that list, it might be Norma Rae, maybe, and I might have replaced it with. Well, of course, I have a personal favorite that year, A Little Romance, which did get an Oscar for its score, its George Delury score, and it did get a nomination for its Alan Burns screenplay. But for me, that's the best romantic movie that's ever been made. It delineates exactly what it is to be in love. It's the best, not only the best romantic movie, but it's also one of the great movies about an American and living in Europe. It's one of the best movies about childhood. It's beautifully written, beautifully shot, scored. Everything is great in it. So I would have thrown in that, or maybe Aliens, because Aliens.
I would have thrown in Alien.
I would have put in Bing. I would have put in Bing there. Would have been the one that I would.
Oh yeah.